Okay, this is going to help you out to do the radial designs. Just make sure when you start, you want to make sure you download the wedge, download the template. Quick review, you click on them, you go to the three buttons on the top right, open a new window, and then you have this download. I'm not going to do it because I've done it a couple of times, so there's no need for me to download it, but you're going to do it for both the wedge and for the template as well. So you need both of those downloaded, and they're going to be sent into your, you can make a folder. I made a wedge folder on my desktop or wherever you plan to put your stuff so you can find it again. We are going to use Photopea for this demonstration because I know that some of you guys are going to be working on this at home on another device, something that you don't have access to Photoshop with. So we're going to open from computer, go to Photopea, open from computer, and this is when you're going to go find your wedge, just the plain old wedge. So on this wedge, we're going to be adding 3 different layers. So we're going to add 3 layers on top. The one that's closest to the background, the lowest one, we can click on it if we want, and we can call it color, we can call it brush, because you're going to be applying some brushes to that. The second one, you can double click on it, and this one you can call word. And this is where you're going to be drawing a word. You can write a little name or symbols, whatever. That's going to have something across the page. Layer 3 is going to be, I'll just call it shape. It's shape, it's going to be object. Whether or not you draw it or not, it's completely up to you. Now I want to show you some samples. Here's one that I worked on, and this was the one in class. So you can see that I have the background. This layer is where there is just color. The middle one has the word. And you can see there's other effects that are added, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then the last layer is actually a whole series of layers where I took actually my Mr. Happy Apple and put a filter on it, and I just ended up making copies of them. So to make copies is Command J. So if you're on that layer, that's why I have a bunch of them. Another example that I was working on today, and this is sort of in the process of, this is before it got all fancy, is I have color, and I was just adding some different colors, kind of mushing them together. Then I have the word drawn, and then I have the shape. And I just started to make copies of this shape, and again, to hit Command J to make a copy, so you can see transform controls, and you can have like a bunch of them kind of spinning around as you'd like. Okay, so that's how this project is going to go. So you're going to be making 3 layers, and on these 3 layers you're going to be putting some things. The first one, you're going to be using a brush and do color. So let's do that real quick. So you can pick one of your favorite colors. You go with a brush, and you can explore different brush styles, smooth brushes, hard brushes, soft brushes. You can even explore blending colors together. I'll show you that real quick. Hold this down. It's color replacement. I wonder where. In Google Classroom, it's somewhere else. Let me just draw some more colors in Google Classroom somewhere else. In Photopea, it's somewhere else. But there is, if you're using Photopea and you want to do some different kinds of brushes, you could go down here to the smudge tool, and you can hit the bracket next to the letter P to do a little smudgy. Now, you guys were working on this when you were working on your color, your selfie, cartoon, split selfie project. So I'm just going to do a little smudgies. It's like taking your finger and moving the color around like finger paint. So that's just one way to do that. Next layer is the word, and you can use whatever color you want. And with this, go back to your brushes. Probably use a more conservative brush. I'm going to make the color layer invisible though, because I want to be able to do this writing, and you want to kind of stay in that, on that layer, on the inside the wedge. Anything that goes outside of the wedge you're not going to see. So if you go off, it's okay. It's just know that pieces that are on the outside are going to get cut off. Alright, so you can write your word. The next one is a shape. And on the shape, you are going to, you could even just draw a picture if you want. So if I wanted to do, like a little purple star, you can see that it's going to be on its own layer, and if I hit Command J, I can make several copies, and I can move them around, just like how I did with the other thing. Alright, so you have, again, there's going to be 3 levels of picture. So let's just work with this guy. So once you have all of your pictures, and I started to merge these layers together, I'll continue. You're going to go to the top layer and hit Command E. That will merge them down. I just want the shapes to be merged together. And then the word, and then the color. One other thing I'm going to request that you do is you're going to use at least one filter. So I am going to demonstrate the filter on the color, but you can certainly put the filter on the word. You can put them on the shapes if you want. So I have the color active. I'm going to go to Filter, Filter Gallery, and you can see there's a couple of different types of filters. Ones that work well for like this more like solid colors and stuff are the texture ones. So for example, I like the stained glass one. You can increase the border, decrease the border size, so you can just apply a filter like that. Another thing I'm going to have you do is to incorporate a blending style, or a layer style they call that. So let's say I want to put the blending style on the shapes. I'm going to come over here right to the side and I double click. And here are my layer styles. Blending options is what they're also calling it. So I'm going to slide this over so I can see what's going to happen. And let's say that I want to put an outer glow around these stars. So I'm going to check outer glow, but I also want to click on outer glow because then it's going to give me these options here. Say that I want the glow to be like this yellow color. So I can increase the opacity, I can make these, change these options around and see what I have here. That looks cool. Let's say I like that. I can also do another, if I want to do another blending option. And you could do blending options, more than one blending option to your design. Like let's say I want to do also bevel and emboss to this, glow and bevel and emboss. And if I wanted to change it, let's say I have too much of a glow, I want to dial that back a little bit. Just gives it a little bit of dimension. I'm going to actually apply something to, I'll probably do the bevel and emboss to the words too. I really like that one. It makes it look like a, kind of like tubes, or like glue, kind of like squeeze glue, squeeze paint or squeeze glue. Soften it. Now I'm going to do a little drop shadow on it. Okay, cool. So in just a matter of seconds, you can add some really, really nice features to this. Alright, I'm done with it. I like the way this looks. Now I'm ready for the next step. And the next step is going to be merging these layers together, not to the background, merging these layers together. So Command E will merge down. And then I want to cut out the wedge. So I'm going to use the magic wand tool. I'm going to be on the background layer with the wedge, and I have the marching ants around inside of the wedge. I go to the layer with my stuff, and I hit Command J, and it makes a copy. I can now delete the original color layer and the original background layer, and now I'm left with the proper wedge. I'm now going to open up my template. And I'm going to bring this over to my template. Get the corner in the middle there, that little point, and shrink it down a little bit. Just keep the proportion. Now, I'm going to make 2 copies, Command J. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this one quadrant. And actually, I'm going to zoom into it so you can get a good look at it. So, they're stacked, right? I have 3 wedges. This one in the middle, right next to it, it's going to be moving down. 2 things I have to do to it. I have to flip it and rotate it. So I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontally. So now you see it's a mirror image. Now, to rotate, you have to come outside of the bounding box, and you're going to start the rotation. Now, instead of like guessing, I can actually put a number in, and it's right here next to this angle. And the magic number is -120. It's going to rotate 120 degrees, but it's negative because it's rotating counterclockwise. So if it fits really nicely, you know you did the right thing. So the middle one is going to flip horizontally and rotate -120. I am now just checking the seam to make sure that I don't have a gap and it's not too much overlapping. That looks really good. And I use the arrows on the keyboard to move it around. So now I have this other one under here. It's not going to flip. All it's going to do is rotate. So I'm going to start the rotation. And here is where I'm going to put that number 60. And it's going to be +60 or just 60 because it's rotating clockwise. And again, if it fits real nicely, you know you were doing the right thing. Okay, and I'm using the arrows to help me out. So I don't want to overlap too much, but I definitely don't want a gap. All right. Now I'm going to go to the top layer and I'm going to hit Command E to merge them down. Now I'm going to do Command J to make a copy of that quadrant. And I have to flip this. Edit, Transform, Flip horizontally. So you want to set it up so it looks like a semicircle. I'm going to zoom in. There we go. Just, oops, I moved that one by accident. Okay, that looks good. So now I'm going to merge these 2 layers together, the 2 top ones, Command E, and I'm going to make a copy of the semicircle, and this one's going to flip. But this one's not going to flip, Edit, Transform. It's not going to flip horizontally, it's going to flip up and down vertically. All right, so you can see how wonderful that looks, right? And again, just check the middle, check the seam, make sure that it's nice and even on there. If you have to maneuver your spaces a little bit, that's completely fine. It happens. There we go. So once it looks good, you can merge them both together. Command J. Nope, not Command J, sorry. Command E. There we go. Now the last thing you're going to do, put something in the background. Don't leave it white. You can add a new layer on top of it. And you can put a gradient, for example. Let's go here. And I'm going to go with a radial gradient, so it goes to the outside. So something like that looks really good. You can maneuver your gradient a little bit if you want a little bit more of that purple showing through. Longer line. Oh, a little long. And maybe to finish it off, I'll put an outer glow around this whole circle. That always looks kind of cool. Gives it a little nice finishing touch. Okay. So that's a done deal. I think that looks really nice. I am done. So when you go to save this, when you're ready to present it, any other time you'd be saving this as a PSD, but when you're ready to submit it, you go to export as JPEG. Save. It's going to go to downloads, and that's where you submit it. Okay? So hopefully this all made sense. I did it in under 15 minutes, which was my little personal goal. And good luck with it all. All right? And rewatch this as you need to. Okay? And I'll be around to help you out as well. All right? Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for watching.